If the life that you knew is falling away right now and a new path, purpose, or version of you is emerging, it's happening because you are shedding the identity that other people wanted you to be and are actually stepping into who God, divine, created you to be. You're being given a clean slate, an opportunity to create your life in accordance with what your soul truly came here to do and be. And while this time in your life can feel unsettling and uncertain, life transitions are actually such a sacred time for so many reasons. Not only are you being asked to carve out a reality for yourself that feels way more meaningful, fulfilling, and joy-filled than ever before because you're actually living from a place of authenticity, but also because the world needs you to do this, to truly blossom and embody this next expression, so you can play your part in this divine plan, whatever that role might look like for right now. So in this video, I'll be sharing some personal stories and insights that might help you navigate your own change of direction, because stories are some of our greatest teachers and other people can be our most powerful mirrors. So I trust that there's something in here for you. I myself have been going through a really powerful time of pivoting, shedding, transformation as well. For me, this is the fourth career purpose path or just change of direction that's already happened for me in the past 5 years. So I definitely have some experience with shifting timelines, jumping timelines, but this time really feels different. It feels like I'm truly stepping into a whole new world, but one that's also familiar at the same time. Maybe you can identify with this too, but what I mean by new yet familiar is that after trying out a bunch of different things, different paths that I thought I should be doing and actually part of me wanted to be doing and felt was authentic at the time, actually am circling back around to what has been in my life since I was a child. And for me, that is just being creative. Whether it's through making music, making artistic, intentional content for social media, to educational content in courses and videos like this. And it's funny because the thing is, for me, as a child, being creative was the most natural thing for me. But I had lost touch with this part of myself as I grew older because the world got to me and started telling me what I should or shouldn't do, who I can and can't be. And I internalized all of that and just was trying to, mold myself into what I thought was safe, what I thought was desirable, what I thought was that idea of success that had been planted in my mind by some very skewed and distorted programming. So maybe you too are coming back to something that's somewhat familiar in a way, as you're changing directions, something you've always wanted to do or never really gave yourself the chance to do. And it's because you're realizing the difference between your self-identity and your soul identity. A self-identity, like I was saying before in the example of my child self being creative and embracing that and making crafts on the floor of my home all of the time, every day, to pursuing a more narrow and rigid, defined kind of box of what I thought I should be in this world. That was my self-identity, what humans and constructs had told me that I should be, things like money and status and the things that society has learned to value over time, even though those aren't really the important things in life, versus our soul identity, which was already decided by God, our unique expression, the way that we were inherently designed to reflect divine qualities was already decided before we were even created in a physical form. And that original divine blueprint still resides within all of us. And as we do the work to heal, to peel back these layers of who we thought we were, who we think we need to be, according to all the societal constructs and the corrupt systems that support it, then we can actually step into who we are meant to be, who we need to be in order to support and play our part in this divine plan, to bring heaven to earth, to allow our gifts to come online and to express ourselves and to bring our light and our love to this planet so that we can be the change that we need to be. That is like very needed right now. We're talking about how you can show up in the world and not only make an impact on the world around you, but to live up to your own soul's legacy. You have already been destined to have a certain set of gifts, lessons, and things to grow into in this lifetime and to become. And as you're becoming that, you are fulfilling your soul's legacy. What if we make the biggest impact just by being ourselves, just by being who we were designed to be and letting all of that other stuff fall away? What if the universe needs you to be exactly who you were designed to be, nothing more and nothing less, in order to fulfill its plan? And that the more layers of falsity that you can shed as you step higher and higher into your becoming, the more you can play that part. And you don't have to do anything but be your deepest, most authentic self that your soul came here to be. I'm not talking about becoming, as in becoming something that you're not already. It's coming back to who you already are at your core, not your personal self, but your spiritual self. That is always and will always contain your most authentic essence, your biggest gifts, your purpose in at least this lifetime. When you're in a time of transition, it is a sign of growth, okay? You're individuating from the narrow range of what you were shaped into by your caregivers, by society at large, by the people who wanted to keep you in that box. For whatever reason, we don't really know for sure. And that's actually not your problem. It doesn't actually matter because you are in the driver's seat of your own life and you have the power to make decisions for yourself now as an adult. And so, this concept of being sort of stripped down to what we already were before all of that programming got piled onto us is like, it made me start to think about, well, what if God's plan for you is the exact path that you were once told was unacceptable, not legitimate, or wouldn't amount to anything, according to those people and forces who were shaping you? What if you've just realized recently that where you are now has been a product of your programming and not of your original design? That's a big awakening and realization to have. And guess what? All of the healing, the transformation that you've been going through, the massive shifts that you've been experiencing have all been preparing you for this moment, this next version of your soul's legacy, just by being you. It's less about like taking on more wisdom and tools and knowledge and roles and hats. It's not about wearing the hats. It's about letting all of that come off you, slide off your back, and reveal what is already there. It's actually about coming even deeper and grounding more into who you already are. Because when you shed, right, all of those external layers leave what was at the core. And at your core, you are already good and perfect. This is divine law. So embrace this sacred time of the shedding, of the stepping into something completely unknown, and yet it feels so right at the same time. It's like you're in a place where your fear of the unknown is finally eclipsed by the fear of not reaching your full potential. When that fear of not reaching your full potential and living the life that you came here to live grows bigger than the fear of taking that risk, taking that chance, putting yourself out there, giving it a shot, then that's when you move. That's when you find yourself in a place of transition, because you wouldn't have been able to let go of what you had before, what you were holding on to for safety, for comfort. If you hadn't already done the work, if you didn't already feel safer taking that leap, you would not be here right now experiencing this transition, as confusing and frustrating as it can sometimes be. At the same time, deep down, that fear is no match for what you know is coming. You can feel this deeply. It's like you've been waiting your whole life for this. And it makes me want to cry because like I'm in the same boat. I can feel this along with you. I'm exactly in that position too. If you're like me and you selected your path in life when you were really young, before you really even knew anything about yourself or what you wanted to do, and just had to pick something because you had a deadline and, you just had to make a choice. I rushed right into college and went in straight into my doctorate program right after college. And so I found that once I graduated and started my practice, at that point in time, did I finally have the space to be actually able to like understand who I was in this world and what kind of impact and legacy that I wanted to create. You can also be so many different things at once. Like the idea of having to pick one path for yourself, I feel like came from the older generations. Like my parents are boomers and business owners, and they both ran their businesses for like 40 years. And so the times are changing, and we are more multidimensional than we've ever been. I think as a collective, multi-passionate. We also have a lot more balance and desire for more than just security and stability. And maybe you're in one of those older generations too and breaking through that too, which is amazing. But like no matter what path has converged for you to get to this point, I just want to say that this is such a point of transformation for you and nothing to be afraid of. It is going to usher in this whole new world for you, one that you've been waiting for, that you've been calling in, that you have felt and known is true, but never really got the chance or weren't able to put that into motion until now. And here you are with a clean slate, ready to move forward, ready to act. And it's right there. The door is right there. And yes, you can structure your life in a way where you prioritize your joy, your well-being, prioritize balance, the things that matter to you, whatever those things are, and not have to cater to those lower fears. I get the sense that you found this video because you're not pandering anymore to those fears. You're not letting them have power over you. Again, you're in this transition because that fear has fallen away and you have the courage, the vision, the energy to follow through this time. Whatever that might be, whether it's also being more creative in your life and letting that come through however feels right for you. There's no right or wrong, and it's just another step in the right direction for you, right? So one other thing that I feel is important to talk about is that sometimes when, just speaking from personal experience, both in my own life and clinically, what I've seen just walking a lot of people through transformation and transitional times is that there are some pretty obvious signs that changes past due. And it can be easy to overlook these things just because we just don't even know that they're connected. And we're not aware of the way in which these subtleties get conveyed to us. Like just for one example, sometimes we only consider a different path in life after we've encountered a lot of struggle on that path and things just haven't worked out for us. Rather than thinking about that as just like a failure and a door closing in your face, it's just like, well, maybe things didn't work out because they weren't meant to. This was like a huge aha moment for me when I realized like this past few years with certain things that I've been really focused on making this happen to the point where I was willing to accept like bare minimum results to keep myself going forward, thinking that, oh, if I just give this enough time, if I just keep enduring, it's going to turn into the thing. And I did everything, maybe not everything, but like 95% of the things that for the past 2 years for this particular issue. And I really put everything I had into it. And it still would not go past a certain point with all the tools, with all the work that I put in. Instead of thinking that if I were to just work harder to make this work, and that there's something wrong with like me or something wrong with the way that I'm approaching this, maybe it just wasn't meant to work out. And I had this moment of illumination probably about 5 months ago, like back in, last September is when the light bulb went off in my mind. And I was like, oh, I was not seeing things clearly because I was so attached to things working in this particular direction that I didn't see all the signs. They were clear as day that like for me in this my particular situation, putting that amount of effort and persisting and enduring was not what I was supposed to be doing. And it took some time for me to metabolize that because I was like, I've thrown everything at this. Like this is everything to me. And it kind of led me to this cliff of like, well, if I'm not this and I don't do this, then who am I? What do I do? What am I where am I gonna go? Like how am I gonna spend my time? So I just share that to say that if you are also in a path where you feel like you've really, really been trying and things should have worked out by now, I know we're all intuitive people here, so just obviously use your discernment. This isn't gonna apply in every situation, and sometimes you really do need to just like push through the resistance to just get there, but this is absolutely not the case for me, and it might not be the case for you either. And if a path feels like inexplicably hard and just blocked despite all of your efforts, maybe it was something that somebody else wanted for you, maybe it just wasn't right for you. Like I didn't need to think too much about why it wasn't right for me. It just kind of came in as a feeling of like, oh, this just wasn't meant to work out. And you can feel that, right? Even when there's a truth that you don't want to admit is there, you can feel it. And eventually, as much as you want to push it away and want to resist it, want to ignore it, eventually that truth will come again to the surface for you to face, and all in right timing, and that leads to the second way in which I learned to recognize some signs that like change was past due, both in myself and in my past clients, is that the body actually shows the signs in a pretty timely way as feedback that you can rely on. And what I mean by that is that what I've noticed working with women specifically who are very self-aware, intuitive, very devoted to their own growth spiritually and personally, what I've seen is that our bodies tend to express what our conscious minds sometimes can't pick up right away. And it's when we actually deconstruct what the body is reflecting, we realize that what we're doing in our life, the stuckness, the frustration, the emotions, the limitations and the beliefs, and just the overall kind of context of the situation all gets mirrored through physical symptoms. My specialty was working with chronic pain. So, of course, the body can express in an infinite number of ways. And I'm not saying this doesn't apply to other symptoms too, but pain is what I'm familiar with most. And I'll give you a couple of examples of how clearly and precisely the body can reflect these truths to us about our path and our purpose. So 2 different client cases. These are from years ago, like when I was in clinical practice, my very first career iteration as a holistic chiropractor. These are from, actually, no, this would be my second iteration of after my first chiropractic practice closed. My second one was more focused on energetics and quantum healing. After my own dramatic healing of neck pain that was speaking to misalignments in my life, I started to take that into practice and see it reflected over and over again with the people I was working with. So I had this one patient who came in with excruciating neck pain. It was like radiating down her arms. I remember this very clearly. She was coming from out of town, so she was only here for 5 days, I think. So she came to see me on like the first or second day that she got here. And long story short, she sent me a message the next day after our first session together. And she said, I slept for the first time through the night in like years, and it's no longer radiating down my arms. It's dramatically, like the pain has like gone down so much. And at the same time, she said, I realized the power of what we were talking about, of how this neck pain was symbolically mirroring the way that I was holding back on my dreams of opening a business for 10 years. And this is something we had talked about in the session. We had connected the dots and it felt really resonant for her. And she said, this has given me the awareness and the push that I needed to follow through on opening this business and moving to a new city so I can do that. And when I opened this message, I was like, Lord, it was one of the first and most clear demonstrations that the body does reflect to us things that we feel and think, but are not immediately conscious of, but that have been playing out in our lives for X amount of time and just waiting for us to pick up on it, okay? She went back to where she was and I didn't really hear from her after that. So I don't know for a fact whether she actually followed through on that, but just the awareness alone, like imagine having an experience so powerful that you just like are snapped out of a slumber 10 years of waiting on your dreams and the connection of like, oh, my body is showing me how much this hurts to not be following through on something that my soul deeply craves and actually needs in order to move forward with my goals. And the awareness, the consciousness of that, the light of that is what healed her and is what brought the energy and the momentum that you see in this example. I have a second example for you, a woman who came to me with a number of different complaints, but one of them that I'll talk about is she had wrist pain in her dominant hand. And this one is even more symbolically accurate because the wrist pain faded as soon as we made the connection between her wanting to pursue her passion in writing that she had not given a chance. So the pain went away pretty much immediately after that insight was downloaded. And she came in for a couple of different things after that. So we just kept working. And then for a while, I didn't see her. And then I think like a year later, I ran into her at the grocery store. And I asked her, I was like, how's your writing going? She said, oh, I actually started just like a couple of pages, but never really got past that. But I do want to give it another try. But I haven't had any pain since I saw you. And this to me was like, oh, this is interesting because I think it's important to illustrate the fact that you don't have to follow that calling to completion. She didn't even finish writing a book. She didn't even finish writing half a book. It was just a couple of pages, a couple of steps in the right direction, and she was freed from it. So I just share those two examples because in both of these examples, the body, like there are tangible signs that change is inevitably needing to happen in these women's lives. And through recognizing the expression of it, the meaning of it in their own bodies, and realizing that not acting on these intuitions, these callings, was actually physically hurting them, that's what really snapped them out of that sort of frozen and like stuck place. And it gave them the energy to at least take the next step. And that was enough. It was enough just to have the intention to really move forward on something, even if they didn't get very far. Like with the first example with the neck pain, she didn't even do anything. All she did was make a decision in her mind and it freed her. So if you want to learn more about the types of messages that are reflected in the body, you can check out my Listening to Your Body mini course, and also I have the Pain Symbolism Masterclass. So the Listening to Your Body course is more for different tools and processes to pick up on the different types of information that the body is reflecting, one of them being these intuitive spiritual messages. But the Pain Symbolism Masterclass is more specifically for painful conditions and the symbolic meaning that they carry. So with these two examples of pain, it was the symbolic meaning that really tied the understanding together and freed these women from their physical constraints, as well as gave them the initiative and momentum and the decision to move forward with whatever it was that they were truly feeling in their heart. So with all of that said, starting over is not a sign of failure, and it's not something to be worried about. In fact, I'd argue it takes a lot of courage, determination, and faith in yourself to take that leap and embrace a change of direction. Your body, your mind, and your spirit will thank you for it, I promise. You know, as they say, your new life will cost you your old one. And if you want resources to help you along this journey of self-discovery and transformation, I'll link those resources mentioned down in the description box below. So thanks for joining me today. Let me know in the comments what it is that resonated with you today. And I'm sending you so much love. I'll see you in the next video.